Do you enjoy hearts decor, but you need something that's going to last a little bit longer than Valentine's Day? Well, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie, and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I have for you 6 brand new projects that you could use for Valentine's Day or for everyday decor. Now, don't forget to stick around to the very end and I'll give you a hint on one of next week's projects. So, let's get started. And here's a sneak preview into all 6 projects we're making today. Project number 1. So first thing I'm going to do is take this little piece of fence post that I have cut to size and sanded down some of the gray, and I'm going to give it kind of a dry brush, whitewash kind of look on it. Then I'm going to take some of this floral wire and I am going to cut 5 pieces in gradiating lengths so that nothing is going to be the same height on this block. Next thing I'm going to do is to drill 5 holes, and I started on either end and worked my way towards the middle so that they're basically all about the same level apart. And that drill I bought on Amazon, and I will have it linked below if you would like to use it. Super easy, and it's cordless. Now I'm going to take some of my air dry clay and I am going to form a little heart and put that onto one of the wires and set that aside to dry. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of decide which gradiating lengths I want on which sides, and then I'm going to make a little ball, kind of like a cotton ball or, you know, one of those ball looking flowers. And then I'm going to make kind of a daisy looking flower. You guys can make whatever makes your heart happy. I'm going to cut 5 little pieces for the petals and a little piece for the center, and then form that flower together best I can. I am not the greatest clay worker. This air dry clay is a little funny to touch at first, but it goes a long way. I've been using this for quite some time, so I'm going to form my flower and add my centerpiece in there, and then put that on a wire and set that aside to dry. The next piece I'm going to make is a little bird. Now at first it starts looking like a UFO, and then it starts looking like a fish, and then I decide to put some extra clay on it to make kind of a wing. I played with this a good long while. I didn't bore you with the details of trying to make this look like a bird, but it eventually does look something like a bird. So there's my little wing, and I'm going to fix his tail a little bit and give him a little eye and set that aside. And then I'm going to make a little leaf that I am imprinting on with this nail that I have from another project I'm going to be doing later. Then I took my stamps I bought from Hobby Lobby and I made them say, "Love you, bigger than the sky." Now this comes from a saying that I've said to my girls and now my grandkids since they were little. I love you bigger than the sky, always and forever, no matter what. And yeah, it's just a sweet little thing. It's really cute to see my 2.5-year-old grandson say it now. So now that all the pieces have dried, I'm going to paint them. Now I decided to give that leaf a moss colored paint, and the daisy, that is Pool, and these are all chalk paint from Waverly. And then I'm going to add a little yellow center in the middle of that daisy. The heart I will paint with Ballet Slipper. The bird I will paint with a combination of crimson and white. The crimson by itself was just a little bit too dark for how light the other pieces were. And the little ball orb I'm going to paint in silver lining gray. And then I'll take a little bit of hot glue and I will hot glue on the wire and put it inside the drilled hole so that it will stay, and I can kind of fashion them the way I want them to look, and then this project will be complete. I also used a Sharpie marker to get my little eye dot on my bird. See the red here? I'm trying to make it look like feathers. I mean, it didn't look like feathers much, but I'll play with it until I am satisfied with the way it looks. Maybe not pleased, but satisfied. And then this project will be complete. I think it turned out so cute and it looks amazing on my tiered tray. What do you guys think? I think it is the perfect heart piece that can be used all year round. And that will then bring us into project number 2, P.S. I Love You. And we are first going to take some of these leftover blocks that I had from Christmas. I had already stained them, and I decided to give them kind of a ivory distressed look. And then the other one, I will take some of my red acrylic paint and I'll mix a little truffle brown chalk paint in with it and make it a little bit darker, and then I will add that to the skinny block. And once that is done, I will let the piece dry and then we'll come back in and write on it. I actually did handwrite this. I didn't use anything from my Cricut, and I think it just turns out so sweet. And again, another project that can be used all year round. I felt like I got a little heavy-handed with the paint, and so I went back in with my heavy-duty nail file and I distressed the piece a little bit and then cleaned up all my paint bits with my handy-dandy little desktop vacuum. I just love this thing. When you're looking for some of those must-have craft items, I think that desktop vacuum is definitely a must. And I'll post it down below for those of you who want to find one. So here I am just freehanding a little PS, and I didn't like the way the S top looked, so I ended up going back in and adjusting it a little bit, and I just used one of my black paint markers for that. And then I have this white chalk marker that I bought from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use that on the red to say I love you. I've been trying to practice on my printing a little bit so that it's acceptable to me instead of having to use my Cricut for all the things, because I know some of you guys don't have Cricut, so, or any other machine like that, the Silhouette or what have you. So I'm just showing you just an easy decorative kind of print on this. And once I get that U on there, this project will be complete. And then I just stacked it on top of each other and set it on my tiered tray. Another cute item. What do you guys think? And that will now bring us to project number 3. I think this one is so sweet too and so simple. It doesn't take much. So I've got this heart that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take off the twine and use some of my wood filler. Now I bought this from Walmart, I believe, and as long as you keep it capped, it goes a long way and lasts a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in that hole and set that aside to dry. And that stained piece was another piece left over from a Christmas project I did. And now I'm going to sand off the bumpy parts of that wood filler and get that heart ready to paint. And I just chose to paint it with a white chalk paint. That way it's a neutral piece that again can be left out all year round. So I'll give that one quick coat and then get it ready to hot glue onto that wood piece. And then we'll move on to the next thing, which is to cut my 3 daisies. Now this pick I got from Dollar Tree, and I just pick off 3 pieces, and then I'm going to make sure that they're different lengths on top of there so they're not running off into each other. And then for those of you that don't have a drill, I'm going to use my Dremel for this. This isn't a name brand Dremel. This is one that I got from Harbor Freight, but it has a tiny little drill bit, and it was just the perfect size drill bit for these little daisy pieces. And so I am going to get the daisy pieces all set in there, and then I will hot glue everything together, and that will be the completion of this project. Another little simple decor item that can be left out year round, that was quick and easy to make. And honestly, scrap wood and the heart and the little daisies, you could use any leftover flowers and actually make this for less than a couple of bucks. And doesn't it look so sweet and just innocent? If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a video. And give it a thumbs up. And that'll bring us into project number 4. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was the most difficult project I did for this whole video. It started off first, and I had to set it aside several times, and it finally ended up coming to fruition. But I am going to use some of this super glue gel that I bought from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue 2 of those little tumbling tower blocks together, and we'll do that twice for the 2 people. And I'm going to use my little clamps that I also bought from the Dollar Tree to hold them together while they dry. Now I am taking 2 of my tiny little pliers that I bought at Harbor Freight, and I am taking my nails and I am bending them to make arms, and I will make a leg for the little girl. And through this process, I discovered that I could actually break these nails with these 2 pliers, which I will do later to make their necks. I don't think I told you what all you needed for this project. You will need 4 tumbling tower blocks and 2 of the 1/2-inch cubes. All of that can be bought at Dollar Tree. Some super glue and a base of some sort, and then 10 nails, and I just used little, I believe they were 1/8-inch finishing nails. And now that that has dried, I'm going to take my bodies and I'm going to sand them down a little bit, and then I'm going to give them each a quick coat of paint. For the man, I used Ivory Chalk Paint by Waverly, and for the girl, I used Ballet Slipper, also by Waverly, and I'm going to paint their bodies and their heads. Now you'll notice in here I do have necks on them, but I'm going to tell you this was a super glue fiasco, and I had super glue all over my hands. That took days to get off, and I was trying to glue pieces together without drilling holes, and I ended up having to drill holes in order to make it easier for everything to have a spot and stay in its spot. And I spared you all the gory details of watching me paint the glue it together and take it apart and glue it back together again. And the base, I decided to give it a good coat of ink chalk paint by Waverly, but in hindsight I might have painted this a different color, or maybe even left it that gold color for every day. So here I am drilling 2 holes in the bottom to make for the legs, and we're going to take 1 straight leg and then 1 half bent leg, and that will be the girl's legs, and both of the boys' legs are straight, but they're hugging, and she's got her leg raised. And I'm going to drill a hole in the top, and that will be for her neck, to attach her neck and her head. And I will drill a hole in the bottom of the head so that we can put those 2 pieces together. And here's where I'm going to show you how I take my 2 pieces of pliers and I just bend that nail back and forth until it breaks to give me a neck. I suppose if I had thought about it, I could have hammered that piece all the way down as long as it was until I got the size of the neck I wanted, but I thought it was easier to just break the nail. And here's my handy dandy Amazon drill again, and I actually borrowed a drill bit from my husband for this project because the one that I used with my Dremel was too small and the 5 that came with the drill were all too big. So here I'm going to put the neck onto the body and put the head onto the neck, and then I'll add a little bit of super glue and a little bit of hot glue and glue those together once I get the fit just right. You'll notice too that I put a little bit of a bend on the neck because they're going to be touching heads together in the final project or final completed project. And so here I am making sure that the girl head and neck is just in the right position, and then I will put them kind of together to make sure that they fit right. Now I have each of them part of the bottom part of their bodies touching and then coming to bring their head together to touch. And here we are again adjusting the little guy's head and neck and trying to make sure that it's all just where it should be. So we'll add in that little bit of super glue, and I know that this gel glue is supposed to, not go into places it's not supposed to, but when the project's all said and done, I'm not sure that I would use this gel glue for a tiny little project like this. It might be good for, bigger projects to hold things together, and it certainly did well holding the bodies together. It just was not my friend in trying to get these heads and necks and arms and legs and whatnot attached to this body. So after I get this neck figured out, then I'm going to glue in the legs and drop a little bit of super glue in there, and later on I decided to do a little bit of super glue and a little bit of hot glue just to give it a more secure, tight fit so that I could continue to move on. I'm not really feeling the tips of my fingers very well right now because there's so much super glue on it. And I actually had to rip my fingers apart once, too much super glue. One thing that you want to be cautious of, and I am working on that right now, is just trying to make sure that the guy and the girl fit together properly and that their legs are the right length for each body. Probably should have taken the neck off to do this, but here we are anyway. I'm trying to nail them in and make sure that there's a good fit. Now I used the heads of the nails to be the feet and the hands on the arms. So I could have just, hammered these in real good. Now I've got the bodies with the legs and the heads on them, and I'm going to drill some holes for the arms and get those glued in. So to do this project over again, I would start by doing the bodies just like I did, and then I would do the arms and the legs and fashion those just like I did, and then I would drill all the holes and make sure everything worked before I started assembling. But here we are. We're going to check and see how the arms are coming together. I would like for his arms to be holding her and then her arms to be around his neck. And so we're going to work on that a little bit together. And as you can see, I'm just adjusting her neck so that it fits right in with his body. And I wished I had a side view for you to be able to see exactly how that looked together, but you'll see it when the project's finished. And now I'm gonna glue that leg I pulled back out so that she is the proper height to be next to him. And we're gonna go ahead and get the holes drilled for his arms and the holes drilled for her arms and get those together, and then glue their feet onto the base And then you'll see at the very end of the project what I decided to do. So I'm going to let you watch my struggle here for a little bit, and then we will see the final project. And get ready for the reveal. It was Gorilla Super Glue. That's how I finally got the whole piece to come together and to stay together. And here it is. I just think it turned out so cute, and it will sit on my tiered tray for a long time. And that will now bring us to project number 5. This is probably my favorite. I think she is just adorable. Now I am using these wood hearts. And I don't know if you could see that or not, but they were bought at Mott's, which was a 5 and 10 store from long, long ago. My mom bought me those. I was probably, oh gosh, in my 20s maybe when she bought those. But I'm going to take this miter box and give myself a nice workout, and we're going to trim down this little branch piece into a head. And then we're going to trim down 2 other pieces out of this smaller branch piece to make feet. Now, if you have some other kind of saw other than this miter box, it'll go a lot quicker, and but you won't be getting the workout. And this is one of several projects I used the miter box with. I wished I could figure out a better way to get it attached to my table, but anyway, here we are. So I'm taking another piece of fence post and I'm marking it off with this popsicle stick to the size of dress that I want her to have based on the size of her head. And then I will trim all of that down with my miter saw in my miter box. Now the glorious thing about the miter box is you have angles. And so as I am trimming down those 2 side pieces, then I can use the I believe it was the 30-degree angle on the miter box to get it the proper size. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy nail file. These are heavy-duty nail files I bought on Temu in a package of 10, I believe, and they are my favorite. And I am going to just give the feet and the head and the body just a really quick sand down and make sure everything is ready for paint. I'm going to take that one heart and I'm going to give it a nice little coat of this ballet slipper paint by Waverly and get the edges and everything nice and coated just the way I want it. And then we will take some of that white chalk paint and we are going to paint the face, the head, if you will. Now I did not paint the sides, I only painted the front, and you can see that here. And then I decided, well, that heart maybe needed a little bit more embellishment, and so I took the back side of my paintbrush and I made little dots on there and gave it a polka dot look. That'll be real cute. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take some of that silver lining gray paint and I am going to paint up the skirt and the feet. Now you'll also see the other supplies that I used. I used a little bit of cotton twine and I used some remnant leftover pieces of rope there. I've got kind of the thick one, nautical rope that you can find at Dollar Tree. And then I have a thinner one, which came on a big roll, and this happened to be the very end of the roll that I bought at Walmart. So you'll need to get whatever rope or twine you think is what you want to see on your little person. Now, I just ended up taking the piece that I had, and I want to say it was probably a foot, maybe 14 inches long, and cutting it in half. Now I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is to pull out my drill and a drill bit that I believe is the right size for that rope. And I am going to mark 2 holes on the dress and a hole on each of the feet or shoes, if you will. And I'm just going to use that corner piece that I cut off when I made the dress as kind of my guide. And then I'll also use it to drill over so I'm not accidentally drilling through my table. And so I'm going to take that drill and drill out those 2 holes. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have drilled holes first and then painted because it kind of made a mess on the dress. And then I had to sand it down in order to clean it all up and make sure that it was going to look good with the twine. And now I am going to have to go back and do some touch-up paint on her dress. But it all turned out good in the end. And so I ran my drill through those feet. Those went super easy and quick. Just forward drill, then backward drill to drill it out, and voila, nice clean drill cuts. And we'll cover up that mistake on the dress on both sides with a little bit more of that silver lining chalk paint, and then we'll get ready to start attaching on her feet and her legs. Now, luckily, one of these ends of twine already had tape on it, and I'm going to use that to thread through the hole on her foot, and then I'll tie off the end in a knot and trim that off, and then I will thread that same hole through, or that same end of the rope through the hole on her dress. And once I get both feet and legs attached, then I will make sure that my legs are the same length and tighten up the knots on the back side of the dress, and this part of the project will be complete. Once we've got that done, it's time to attach her head. I just add a little bit of hot glue on there and get her head on, and then we will attach this little heart onto her body, and you can place it wherever on her body you would like. I liked mine kind of down a little bit further, and then I will take that other rope, this is nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to fashion her hair out of this. So I'll trim down the piece, and then I start taking it apart, and I totally did not get any of this on camera, but I took half of that thickness of rope, and then I frayed the edges, and I made some little shoestring bows out of that cotton, and attached those to her hair and gave it a little bit of a trim, and then attached one to each shoe, and this project will be complete. I just think she is adorable and definitely something that you would find at one of those little boutiques, and it cost me really next to nothing. What do you think? Isn't she adorable? And that will bring us to our final project, project number 6. And this I call my little love cottage. So I'm going to take another piece of leftover fence post, and I am going to trim it down to give the top a nice little roof line, and then I will trim down the sides to make it more of a skinny little house. And here I am marking where I need to make that next cut so that the roof line is even on both sides. And once I get that all done, then and sanded down, then we will be ready to move on. I'm going to take a popsicle stick, and we'll use this for the door. And I'm going to take one of these wooden stick hearts that I bought from the Dollar Tree and use that heart, as well as another one of these hearts that also came in a pack from the Dollar Tree. Now I decided after all that top heart was a little bit too big, but I'm going to go through the process here. I'm going to trim down that popsicle stick with my miter shears and kind of get a placing of where the door might go, and this is when I decided that heart was just too big. So we're going to trim the skewer off of this little heart, and we will use that at the top of our roof line, and then we will pick a different heart for the doorway. And these are my tiny little snips from Harbor Freight, and we're going to give this just a quick coat of white chalk paint, not getting too fancy with it. I actually wished I'd gone a little lighter handed, and then I wouldn't have had to go back in and sand it down later. That's the thing I love about using old fence posts, is when you sand it down, you can leave a little bit of that gray distress and then paint it and add it even more of a distressed look. I think it's super sweet. And so I'll go in, since I went a little heavy-handed with my nail file, and I'll sand down the edges just a little bit and give the center a little bit more sand, just to make it more rustic looking. And then wipe it all down, get rid of that sandy dust, and we are ready to start putting this project together. So let's start with the vinyl. Now you could hand write this on or use stickers, but I decided to use my Cricut and create this little love you with a little heart period. And I thought I was going to go in there with my fingernails and pull out the center of that O, but oh, how wrong I was. I had to get my weeding tool and get in there and get those O's off. And then I will use my clear contact paper from the Dollar Tree and cut a little piece of that to place over the love you. And I will use I think a little scraping tool I had sitting next to me to go ahead and burnish that down, and then pull it up and get it placed on my little cottage. The L didn't want to come, but you know how we can just grab that and stick it on later. Oh, the Y stuck on the contact paper, which usually doesn't happen, but here we go. Let's get all this put together, and oh, that is sweet. Now let's get that heart glued on the top of the roof line. I love how it gives the whole piece a little bit more dimension. And then we will get the doors measured, and I'll use my miter shears here to give those a little trim. And then we will get those stained. Now I'm going to use a baby wipe and some of the antique wax by Waverly after I give this a real quick sanding down and finish off those little ends. Now my baby wipe was brand new and super wet, so I'll go in with the the antique wax, and I'll wipe it on, but I end up having to go over it twice to get the darkness that I wanted, because the wipe was so wet it just kept wiping it right off. And then I am going to use my little paper towel I have over there to the side and dry off my little popsicle stick pieces, because they too are still very wet. And I'll get those glued on, and then we are going to use one of those little heart stickers that you see that I bought from the Dollar Tree, and it is the perfect size to go over the door. And I'll give that a quick coat, a couple coats actually, of white chalk paint, and make it white so that it matches with the rest and doesn't look like a, I don't know, a candy piece, but looks more like a little heart wreath to go on my door. And while I'm doing that, I also decided to give my little heart some polka dots, and it'll match with my little girl from earlier and looks nice as a little vignette type of piece on my tiered tray table. Now, if you stick around till the end, I will show you what all my decor from the last 3 weeks looks like at my house. Now the last piece that we're going to do is add some little windows. And since I got my door a little bit off-centered, I'm going to do a 2-pane window on one side and a 3-pane window on the other. And I first start drawing it on with my super fine Sharpie marker, and then I went over it with a thicker Sharpie marker, and then I went over it with some paint, and then I decided to use the puffy paint that you can get in these little tubes from Dollar Tree, because it just wasn't popping off the page like I wanted. And so this little puffy paint gave it just the amount of dimension I was looking for, and then this project will be so done. I think it's super cute. What do you think? And let me know which project was your favorite from today. Get ready. Here's how everything looks at my house from the last few weeks. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really do enjoy our time together. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, let me give you a hint on one of next week's projects. You're going to need a small embroidery hoop. This one is about, I'd say, 6 inches. Really, we just need the inside. So if you can find something to substitute for this, that would work. You're going to need some barbecue skewers, and you're going to need some beads. I have some bigger ones and some smaller ones. But until then, make it a great day, and happy Tuesday!